You see, majority of people love babies. But wouldn't it be great if we could just avoid that and get more of that? But unfortunately, it's a complete package. You get everything with it, or else don't get it. But I would request you to get it, or else how the humanity will survive. But in Blender, you can get a part of one thing and avoid a part of another thing. You see, I have a music over here. It will be a little bit loud. Now a new thing has been added, that is sound equalizer. Thanks to Richard Antilic. We need to thank Richard for this thing. If you come over here in the modifiers and select this strip, only then you could add it. And then if you add equalizer, now currently notice the music. I know it's a little bit loud, but what we can do is you can use these curves to increase the bass of the music and reduce the treble. Oh yeah. And reduce it and increase the treble to make sure everyone's ear will hurt. Right? It's very odd. But this is the bass and this is the treble, and this is where the human voice or mid levels will be there. If you search for equalizer on the Google, a lot of videos will get, but right now you can do it inside thanks to Richard. The next option is panels integration with Blend UI, Blend files and UI. What it actually means is, you see, we get these node groups, and within the geometry node section you can expand the panel. Let me show it in example. This is the Twitter page of Cartesian Caramel, a very wonderful blenderer, and you can see that this collection of nodes can be collapsed and expanded, and you can connect these things, and even then you can collapse and expand it. That's a very wonderful thing, and this should be thanked to Lucas Tonne. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it is what it is. And Jack Lucas, the dearest of all the geometry noders out there, has bought this wonderful option that you can directly start searching. What it actually means is, for example, if I go to geometry nodes, wouldn't it be better if you go into the market and just think of the thing and get it right away? Shift A and type whatever you want. CUBE cube, you get the cube. Control A, sphere, SPHERA, you get the sphere, icosphere, or whatever the sphere you want. Isn't it great? It's awesome. And thanks to Jack Lucas. And it doesn't only works for geometry nodes, it works for compositor. Shift A, right glare, you get the glare node. It even works in shader editor. Shift A, like noise. So that's a wonderful feature added by Jack Lucas, which will be coming in the next version. And the next feature is this Ajax. Ajax. I am calling it as Ajax, but it is AGX. Now a new standard has been implemented in place of Filmic, that is Ajax. I'm calling it Ajax. Filmic had high dynamic range of the film camera, but Ajax is going to have the dynamic range of the way we perceive the world. At one point it gets very difficult to get something out of Filmic, but Ajax like really works the way our eyes works. You can also see here the image is getting clipped out, but here we get all the information over here. Here the color is getting clipped out, and here we get all the information. It is a little bit desaturated. I would urge you to go and see this video, and if you have a little bit more time to spare, definitely watch this video. It will show and open your eyes to what actually Filmic used to do, was capable of, and what AGX is actually capable of. So that is the new standard Blender is going to have from the next version on. And the next feature is match EV while processing ramp or camera curves. What it actually means is, when we had EV open and cycles open, and if you squash out the EV and cycles ramps very close, you can see the difference very clearly. Now that has been fixed. Initially it was like this, and now it's going to be like this, a little bit more uniformed. And the next option is refactor menu. What they have done for shading, for compositor, the same treatment they have given to the geometry nodes. What geometry nodes people had the advantage over other people was they had groupings, they had this separating lines. Now it has been added to the shading as well as to the compositor. Thank you very much to Pablo Vescas, because he's the one here. Thanks to the Blender development as well as Blender Development Fund, which is making this possible. And I would also like to make a huge shout out for blenderjob.com, because it is a wonderful platform for people who are going to collaborate within the ecospace of Blender and the ecospace of open source softwares. So make sure that you check that out as well. And the next feature that Blender developers have added is replace the bone groups with armature layers. Wonderful feature. This is the older version and this is the newer version. Even you can see that a lot of people in the Blender community are just pushing out models after models, renders out of renders, and nothing related to animation, because rigging was like a path of fire that they had to go through to understand animation and enjoy that part of animation. Initially we had 32 layers and it was enough, but from here on we are going to have even more. If I select this bone and go to this armature and go above, now this entire thing is being replaced by this, because here it was very difficult to navigate through this unless and until you actually know what is actually happening there. But now with the help of this system of bone collection, you can hide and understand which bones are within which collection, and it is very easy to assign and remove and select and deselect the bones which are in the same collection. Isn't it great? It's awesome. And for that we have to actually thank for whoever is working with the rigging department, and unfortunately I couldn't get the name of that person who was contributing to this part. So thank you very much, and for that we need to thank Blender Development Fund. And the next awesome feature that was added to the geometry nodes was giving this color to the rotation so that it could be easily found out within the geometry nodes. Next, this node is going to be added to the geometry nodes. Oh my god, all the geometry nodes genius, like gods of Blender, are going to love this. And I don't know geometry nodes, so there are very few reasons for me to love. And the next thing is animation shear operation for graph editor. So we got these options, and if I go to graph editor, this is especially useful when you have a lot of motion data capture and if you want to make the changes a little bit differently. So what you can do is you can select a bunch of keys in the graph editor and then go to blend, and then you can go to shear keys and you can change the way it is going to affect it. And you can also tap D to toggle the direction of how it is going to shear it. So it will be very useful for cleaning out motion data capture or any other data or any other animation hiccups. Then the next thing is geometry nodes support drag and drop for materials. This is going to be very awesome, and thanks to Daybreak and Hans Guri, because they were involved in this awesome thing. When you go to geometry nodes and if you want to give a new material, and what you can do is you can just drag it here and make a material, drag it here and make a material node. And what you can do is you can just insert this into the node group. Wow, this was actually discussed on the Blender Today channel by Pablo Vescas during the live session. Someone must have picked it out and made this, and thanks to Daybreak, he really made my day. Actually, I forgot to thank Christopher Lendenfield for involving himself with this shear operator. Thanks to him as well. And now the change has been made in the EV in such a way EV will be almost resembling cycles. This is that, and we must thank Wei Zheng Huang for involving himself with this thing, because EV is going to be like this. It's almost like cycles. EV is going to be like this, which is almost like cycles. Almost. Just because there is no ray tracing. Other than that, it is almost like cycles. And this, we need to thank Germano Cavalcante for involving himself with this wonderful project. What it actually does is, let me open it for you in the other window. They are thinking of making a snap, and what it actually does is, if you bring the mouse over to the vertex, it is going to show you a different symbol, a different cursor. If you take it on edge, different, midpoint or perpendicular, different, and at any other place on the face, a very different cursor. This will be very familiar for the people who work on AutoCAD or different CAD softwares. So you are not being left behind, architects and other CAD users. You are being taken care by people like Germano Cavalcante. And the next, a little bit smaller thing, but does make a big change. You see the noodle is going from here to here, and even if I bring a little bit, it is going to get connected. But what if I just wanted to keep it there? I didn't want to connect it there. So what you can do is, you can tap and hold Alt and just keep it there. It is not going to connect there. You can control Blender from becoming too smart. Thanks to the Blender Development Fund, really, it's like it is the only thing that is keeping this thing going. It's like the fuel for this car. If it doesn't have fuel, the car is of no use. Isn't it great that Blender is making progress in leaps and bounds? Of course, we need to thank the Blender developers, and most importantly, Blender Development Fund and the whole community. And there is this wonderful platform called blenderjob.com, where the people who think in terms of Blender, who do in terms of Blender, who want to create opportunities, who want to create studios in terms of Blender and other open source software, use it to your advantage as much as you can. Make sure that you support me on the Patreon's page. Links will be given in the description. And if possible, try to see all the ads which are following on this video without skipping them. Until then, have a good day. Blender. Until then, we will meet on the next Sunday.
Veda.